So I think we're probably ready to start. We might have a few stragglers come in as time goes forward. But for those of you on Zoom and those of you in the room, we want to thank Reverend Lisa Kipp from Lutheran World Relief coming today and sharing with us. This is one of those moments where learning technology over the last year has really kind of made things like this way more possible or easy to do than they would have been in previously, because we wouldn't normally have it set up to just be able to do it. And it probably makes it easier for Lisa to not have to fly all over the country to try to do worship services in adult forums, or even as deployed staff in different places to try to regionally do that work. So there's blessings and curses. Of course, we'd love to meet you in person, but we're glad that you can be with us today.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I would also much rather be there in person, but it has been the benefit of technology that we have been able to virtually be with many different congregations across the United States and say thank you for all of the ways that you are sharing your love and quilts and kits with our neighbors around the world. Pastor said, my name is Lisa Kipp, and I'm on the staff at Lutheran World Relief. Prior to my time here at LWR, I served a congregation in Rochester, Minnesota, which is the home most commonly known as home of the famous Mayo Clinic. And so I still live in Rochester with my family and work remotely for Lutheran World Relief. And in my role, I am the leader of our team that connects congregations across the country with the work that we are doing in the world. And it is a real honor to be with you and to be with so many Lutherans and people who have been sharing their gifts for many years. Throughout our presentation today, I have a variety of videos and images to show you and stories to share. And so I'll start this first one in just a minute. And just once it starts, give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound. I want to make sure that Zoom is working in all of the ways that it should. So I'm going to go ahead with that first video. In 2020, Lutheran World Relief celebrated 75 years of sharing God's love with our neighbors around the world. And so take a glimpse back at where we started and the places where your love still persists today. Can you hear the sound?
1 in 5. That's how many Lutherans were left homeless at the end of the Second World War. In 1945, Lutherans in the United States mobilized to respond to the humanitarian crisis in Europe through a new agency called Lutheran World Relief. The mission quickly expanded, sending love where needs were greatest. Now, 75 years later, you continue to respond to God's call to be the body of Christ to some of our most vulnerable neighbors throughout the world. Your love is reaching further, bearing more fruit, standing faithfully alongside our neighbors in need, no matter where, and no matter how forsaken. You are a light in the darkness for those in need around the world. We give thanks to God for your faithful partnership. Please persist until your love reaches every neighbor.
Today, Lutheran World Relief is at work in 4 regions around the world: Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. This morning, I'm going to take you on a mini world tour to each of these locations and show you the faithful and innovative ways that we are putting your love, God's love, in action. We'll start our tour in Asia. Communities across Asia are the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change and natural disasters. Our goal is to work with communities to find solutions specific to their needs so that families can lift themselves out of poverty and better prepare for the next unexpected challenge. I want you to meet Bhagwanti Devi. Bhagwanti and her family rely on the rich, fertile soil near the Gandak River to grow their crops and support their livelihoods. But as the river gives, it also takes away. The flood season arrives on an annual basis, typically around June. And when the Gandak overflows its banks again during the next flood season, the homes, crops, and livelihoods in its path will be destroyed, affecting thousands of people like Bhagwanti already living in poverty. Families in our community cannot move their homes as we might to change our situation. They are part of a caste system that keeps certain classes of individuals in the margins where dangers lurk. Take a look.
अचानक में बाढ़ आ जाता तो धान घर में अनाज पानी जो रहे तो पानी आई तो सड़बे गलबे करी अब कर्जी उगा में काढ़ के खाई जाई गाँव के लोग के सारे लोग काम करते रहल जब कोरोना असर आई तब से काम ना मिलत रहल सारे लोग तो घर में लुका कर रहत रहल सूखे रोटी बना के और खात रहल हमनी के खेती बाड़ी यही जगह कैसे अपने छोड़ के चल जाए दूसरा देश में जाइला तो का जाने एजा बात आदमी खेती गिरती बा अब कब बाढ़ आवेला तो दह जाला तो होला कब ना दहला तो कब होला तो आराम से खा छोड़ के चल जाए कहीं एगो से परेशानी कहीं भी बाढ़ आइल तब बहुत बुरा सकता माने गांव के बहुत इथी रहे परेशानी रहे आदमी भी माने कितना आदमी दो आदमी के मौत हो गइल बाढ़ में
काफ़ी नुकसान हुआ तो कोरोना और बाढ़ मिलकर काफ़ी हम लोग को नुकसान पहुंचा है। अगले वर्ष के लिए हम यही आशा करते हैं कि ये कोरोना वायरस खत्म हो जाए, इसकी दवाई हमारा आर्थिक स्थिति सही हो जाए और खासकर बाढ़ नहीं आए। भगवान से यही प्रार्थना है कि बाढ़ कम से कम नहीं आए ताकि हम लोग अपना सारा चीज़ व्यवस्थित कर लें। जो हमारा उनका सब चीज़ बिखरा हुआ है, हम लोग आर्थिक रूप से बहुत कमज़ोर हो चुके हैं, हम लोग समझ।
One of the ways that your love is shared with our neighbors along the river is by teaching innovative flood-resistant farming techniques, techniques like rooftop farming. Pictured here is a gentleman named Rajendra Kushwaha, and he is growing gourds and pumpkins on top of his roof so that when the floods come, they will avoid destruction during this rainy monsoon season. Rajendra also has a hanging mushroom crop inside his home, and here he is spraying water on his crop, which, like the rooftop farming, is elevated to avoid damage during flooding. And finally, this is a mobile seedling bed, which allows farmers like Rajendra and his neighbors the opportunity to easily transport their growing seedlings during a flood so that they can move them uphill and then immediately come back down and start farming after the floodwaters recede. We will move our tour next to the Middle East. Your love reaches families in the Middle East who have been affected by war, conflicts, and disasters. These families, many of them, have suffered tremendous loss and trauma and have been forced to flee their homes and are living as refugees in neighboring countries. Lutheran World Relief provides the critical aid and the support that families need to put their love back together. You might recall that on August 4th of last year, an explosion at the port of Beirut, Lebanon, killed more than 200 people. LWR has been working in this city for many years, and so almost immediately our disaster response team was on the ground, assessing the damage and formulating a response. This response caught the attention of many congregations across the US because initial reports that we got from port authorities were that 3 40-foot shipping containers containing LWR quilts and kits were destroyed. Take a look at how your generosity is making a difference in Beirut.
My name is Caroline Botarek, and I'm the Deputy Programs Director for Lutheran World Relief, Lebanon. We were all dead that day. If it didn't kill our bodies, it kills our hearts. People were heartbroken, lost, angry, shocked. No words can describe the pain.
Thank you for the many ways that you, alongside Lutherans across the US, are sharing your love with our neighbors in Beirut. To date, since the explosion, 21,433 quilts and kits have been distributed in the region, and over 1,000 households have been repaired. The next stop in our world tour is Africa, where Lutheran World Relief has been putting the love of Lutherans to work for decades. We work with many poor farming families to get more out of the agricultural value chain and help countless men, women, and children become more resilient, even in some of the most challenging conditions. As is also true in Central America, we work
48
with many
48 years,
coffee
yeah.
farmers.
48. When I annoy her, she does not get annoyed for a long time. The hardest part in our marriage, when we lost our firstborn, was the hardest part. Along with our children, we care for 6 kids who do not have a home. We don't want anyone to suffer when we are well. My wife and I have been of farmers for 18 years.
This business is possible because there are people who have believed in us, trying to do something different. For a business, you're coming in to develop a model that will work. The other advantage with the business, you can change. You can change the business model. You can change the strategies. You've given us the capacity to do much more.
Coffee brings us together. It's the lifeline of our community. It's the reason we have a school. If we study hard, your future will become bright. That's why we put our motto here that education is light. Every time she likes laughing, every hour. She's never puts on a gloomy face. Very, very beautiful wife to me. I love you so much. Coffee actually is the only source of income in our family. We produce coffee at the highest level so that we can get a good price and support this community.
So it's beyond coffee. Our reason for being in the business is to improve livelihoods.
Please enjoy our coffee from our community to yours.
That was Wadamba Deason and Nafuna Oliver, who are husband and wife coffee farmers in Uganda. As you can imagine, over the course of the last year, our work helping our neighbors fight the COVID-19 pandemic has infiltrated and changed all of the work and the programming and the ministry that we're doing around the world. Across Africa in particular, Lutherans are helping our Christian Health Association partners equip medical workers at more than 2,000 clinics with PPE supplies, hand washing stations, and education. Beginning this week, we are sharing an invitation with Lutheran congregations across the United States to help us in what we are referring to, and many in the world, as the largest global health effort in human history. I want you to take a glimpse at some of our neighbors who live in Africa, and also then see some of the highlighted ways that congregations can come together and support the work that we're doing with our partners around the world.
Right now, worldwide, more than 70 million people have been forced from their homes. Violence and threats mean most of them must remain in unfamiliar and temporary places, some indefinitely. Many live in makeshift camps like this one, on the outskirts of Bamako, Mali's capital city. There are no jobs. There is no rain. Food does not grow. The kindness of strangers is what keeps them alive. Fatima Bali and her son, Bukhari. Aisata Dikko and her children. Juneba Berry and her parents. Our neighbors may be safe from violence here, but they are at a greater risk for COVID-19.
Bon, COVID vaccine ko amba kalama mabara kalama me amai. Anko ni hakilla ko surli kagele. Anko ni fe ni ya nyiniga ati soro position na kagele ndo.
But as God's people, your congregation can join the largest global health effort in human history. Your gift will help clinics around the world be ready to care for neighbors like Fatima, Aisata, and Geneva when the vaccine becomes available. Your congregation's love will ensure hard-working healthcare workers across Africa, Asia, and Latin America can deliver the doses and coordinate vaccination campaigns. Your congregation's generous support will purchase essentials like masks, clean water, and emergency food for people like her in camps around the world. In a world of plenty, where those who have the very least are the most forsaken, the faithfulness of your congregation will help save lives until your love reaches every neighbor.
We are going to move our tour next into Latin America. And just after I'm done presenting all of the photos and the videos, I will make sure there's a time for any kind of questions and answers. I know people often have questions about the work that we're doing and how we are partnering with others to fight COVID in the world. So I'll make sure there's time to answer, or at least try to answer, any of those questions that you might have. So the final stop in our world tour now takes us to Latin America, where countries here are as diverse as they are in natural resources. In Latin America, Your Love invests in projects that protect the land and the families whose livelihoods depend on it. One of our flagship programs throughout the region is our work with cocoa farmers. Latin America produces 15% of the world's cocoa, but its industry suffers from the ill effects of warming temperatures and unpredictable weather. With global demand for cocoa exceeding supply, there is tremendous opportunity for people to earn a living in the cocoa sector. One of the powerful ways you reach cocoa farmers in places like Nicaragua is through programs like Mobile Cacao. Mobile Cacao uses smartphones, which most farmers already own, to connect them with other farmers and to ensure that they have the technical expertise that they need right at their fingertips. The digital divide is closing fast in rural areas of the world as network coverage expands and the costs of phones and service continues to decrease. We've also been able to use programs like Mobile Cacao to reach, to share COVID information. And so in the beginning of the pandemic, when we were sharing a lot of education and safety precautions, we were able to use these apps to reach farmers in the most rural communities. Sadly, in the fall of 2020, Central America was hit by back-to-back hurricanes. Many of us in the US didn't hear much about them because it happened right in the heart of our presidential election. And so it didn't make a lot of the news coverage, but there were hundreds of lives lost and destructions to home, including the places where many of the cocoa farmers live that we have been working with. Your Love is also reaching our neighbors in Latin America through another mobile platform. This one is called Ven Informado, which offers practical information and real-time advice on subjects like immigration, laws, and customs to Venezuelans seeking refuge in Peru. LWR provides food, shelter, and help with the immigration process to Venezuelan families as they reach Peru and try to establish their lives once again. I want you to meet two families who are now living in Lima, Peru. Take a look.
En Venezuela dejé mi vida, gran parte de mi vida, lo que había construido en tantos años, mi casa, mi hogar, mi carrera. Mi vida en Venezuela era una vida bastante feliz. Nosotros pertenecíamos a una familia de clase media, de profesionales, de personas, gente trabajadora.
Yo era agricultor en Venezuela. En realidad teníamos una finca, nuestra vida era tranquila, por eso tuvimos 5 hijos.
Yo salí de Venezuela básicamente por problemas de salud míos, de mi nieta. No se conseguían los medicamentos y la única forma de huir, ¿verdad? Para no morir por falta de medicamentos, la decisión que tomamos fue salir del país.
Caminamos 37 días. Hubo obstáculos en el sentido, hubo más que todo miedo, o sea, nerviosismo de parte de mis hijos.
Fue un viaje traumático, por lo que viví, por lo que vi, por el dolor ajeno, por el dolor propio, por muchas cosas.
De verdad que el apoyo ha sido increíble. Nosotros estamos acá en este refugio gracias a Lutheran World. Nos ha brindado toda la colaboración que se le puede brindar a un hermano necesitado.
Yo espero para Venezuela la libertad, yo espero para Venezuela y sueño con el país en el que yo me crié. Con ese país precioso donde nosotros en vez de ser ayudados, nosotros ayudábamos. Nosotros en vez de ser recibidos, recibíamos a la gente. Entonces yo sueño con esa Venezuela de antes.
Thank you for sharing God's love and welcome to refugees seeking a new life in Peru, and for the many ways that your love is making a difference in Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. We've completed our mini world tour highlighting the locations where your love is putting God's love in action. And now I'll change our attention to the hands-on ways that your congregation, alongside thousands of other Lutheran congregations, is reaching our neighbors. You can't talk about Lutheran World Relief without talking about our longest running program, the Quilt and Kit Ministry. As you saw in that first video, we distributed our first quilts in 1945 to families in war-torn Europe following the Second War. Within a decade, the ministry was reaching around the globe to villages far removed from the world's attention. Today, an average of 300,000 LWR mission quilts are lovingly given worldwide each year. Often when natural disasters strike or wars drive families from their homes, our hearts ache with compassion and we don't know how to help. But from their homes and church basements across the country, Lutheran quilters have been sharing their love in tangible ways to our neighbors for decades. Take a look at how LWR Mission Quilts connects hands and hearts around the world.
I enjoy sewing. I've sewn for a long time, and I think it is a wonderful way to put colors together, to make designs, and to give somebody a lasting memento that they will have for the rest of their lives.
I'm hoping that they find it as beautiful as we do and they appreciate it. It's made with a lot of love. And I am hoping that the person that receives it will have it for a very long time.
Enjoy it. Find comfort in it. Know that the people who made it for you thought of you the whole time they were putting the quilt together, and know that God loves you.
Thank you to all of our quilters at your congregation for the many ways that you are stitching love into those quilts and reaching all of these neighbors who you have seen. So many of those folks who live in their country are receiving quilts, and it's because that's how you're choosing to spend your time during pandemic, your time with your community, and how you live out your faith. So thank you so very much. A quilt may be used as warm bedding, maybe as a simple tent or as floor coverings, but no matter how it's used, an LWR quilt always represents God's loving presence in a world rife with suffering. And so to all of our quilters out there, thank you so very much. Making Lutheran World Relief kits is another powerful way that people of all ages can put their love in action. LWR kits are specifically designed to help people coping with poverty, disaster, conflict, and more. Whether a kit helps someone to maintain good hygiene, care well for a newborn baby, keep education going during a crisis, or learn a new vocation, LWR kits provide dignity and hope in some of the most dire situations. LWR personal care kits are helping to keep our neighbors safe in places right now like San Jose, Honduras, where personal hygiene is as important as ever, as hundreds have been crammed into makeshift shelters following hurricanes Eta and Iota, while the COVID-19 pandemic continues. In celebration of our 75th year of sending quilts around the world, and to say thank you to all of our quilters for your love and generosity, we've partnered with a fabric artist and a dedicated LWR quilter to bring you the Quilt and Kit Affinity Pin. So if you've made a quilt or a kit, I hope you will have already ordered yours or will order your Quilt and Kit Affinity Pin by calling the number listed on the screen. You can also visit our website, but know that these pins are just now starting to arrive. And so we want to make sure that all of our quilters and kit makers receive one. I've highlighted our work around the world and the tangible ways that your hands can get busy making a difference in the world. But so often people ask, what more can I do? And so to that question, let me offer an invitation. If your heart was moved by hearing the stories of our neighbors around the world, I hope you'll consider becoming a faithful neighbor and sending your love each and every month to your neighbors with the very least. For children like Poonam, who is photoed here, your monthly gift saves her family from hunger until they can feed themselves and then sends help to the next family in need. The reality is that there are so many of our neighbors that are suffering. Without your continued and steadfast support, they will continue to suffer. As a faithful neighbor, your love will reach further, stay longer, and help sustain families in need all year long. It's easy to sign up at lwr.org/monthly. I hope you've learned more about the ways that Lutheran World Relief can help you to share your love and faith around the world. If anyone has any questions, I will pause and stop sharing for a moment to answer any questions that you might have.
Lisa, are these videos available to congregations to use for various purposes?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think every single one of these is on our YouTube. Or if you go to YouTube and search Lutheran World Relief, you can find them. Many of them are also on our website, and we do have them. A lot of times, if pastors want to use them and share in worship, we have easy ways to download those videos, and I could send the links if there's one in particular that you would like.
Well, I think it would be nice. We have a Facebook page, and it would be good if our congregation would share these from time to time so that people are more aware
Absolutely.
of what Lutheran World Relief does.
Yeah, one of the simple ways might be I don't know if there's someone who does social media. We do have a pretty active Facebook and Instagram following, and so our staff will share the videos from time to time, and then many congregations will share them so that their folks see them too. Hi, Lori.
Hi there. We're here in Florence, and I will say that my mom here is a longtime quilter for Lutheran World Relief. I had a question. My daughter's from Ethiopia, and she was wondering, do you serve Ethiopia?
I would have to look back and see. I'd have to look into that for you. I'm not sure. We're in over 40 countries. Let me pop on, and if everything's working fast here, I should be able to tell you in just a minute.
We were just curious.
Sure. Yeah. Well, a huge thanks. Is that your mom? Is your mom behind you there?
Yeah, here she is.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for all of the quilts that you have sewn. I hope that it touched your heart a little bit to see some of the people around the world who would have received them.
She's shy. She says thank you. And yes, the number of quilts that go around the world is really amazing.
Isn't it something? Yeah. I'm looking right here. I don't think that we are in Ethiopia right now. It does not look like we have a country office in Ethiopia.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions that I could? All right. Well, if there aren't any other questions, would it be fine if I closed our time together with a prayer today?
Great.
All right, let us pray. God, thank you for the many ways on this Pentecost Sunday that your Spirit blows in our midst. God, thank you for the ways that these people gathered here at Bethesda Lutheran have heard your Spirit and gotten involved in that work and shared their love with their neighbors around the world. God, thank you for all of those quilts that have been so carefully stitched together. God, continue to bless these hands that make them with your love and spread that with others around the world. Be with our neighbors. Help us in our work to end this pandemic for those who are already in so many forsaken countries. God, we trust that your Spirit will continue to guide and lead us. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation to join you today.
Yes, we appreciate your time and your willingness to share with us and help us to learn more about the work you're doing. Well, not you personally, but you as an organization are doing around the world. So thank you.
You're very welcome. You're welcome. Have a great Sunday. Please reach out if there's any other questions I can answer.